Okay, here we go again. It's time in your lives to pay attention to the Midnight Skeptic. Here is my play-in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, excuse me. This is the Midnight Skeptic show number 50. It's kind of a milestone of sorts. Show number 50 that I've been on YouTube. I actually started this show down at the KPCA studios, radio only, almost 5 years ago now. My audio engineer, Dennis, thank you, convinced me 50 shows ago. For a while it was on every other week, but for the last 3 or 4 months it's been every week because there's just so much stuff happening. And I was confined in here anyway because of the Mr. COVID, the fun guy that's infecting everything. Okay, the views of the Midnight Skeptic are not necessarily, that's a key word here, the views of Petaluma Community Access or its radio station KPCA that I'm on, and its TV stations that they use to broadcast city council meetings and planning commission meetings and hospital meetings and things like that. Okay. If you disagree with my views, and I can't for the life of me figure out why you would, send all correspondence, suggestions, death threats, hate mail to themidnightskeptic@gmail.com. And I'll get it, and I'll take it into consideration. I have had suggestions from Stan down in Pacifica that I should get more good news on my show. And honestly, I try to. I'm not a Debbie Downer by nature. I like to laugh too much. And despite Republicans' best efforts, this country will survive. And I will resume laughing at them. Okay. Shout outs. Okay, I have a small coterie of international people who listen to me. I can't for the life of me figure out why they would. They must have better things to do with their lives. Anyway, there's a couple in the UK, a couple in Australia, one in New Zealand, Ireland, a couple in Germany. Did I mention the UK? There's a couple there. And one new guy, or maybe she's a girl, from the Czech Republic. Okay, East Coast. Geraldine, Long Island. Dave, North Carolina. Amelia Beamer in the Florida, the Atlantic coast of Florida. Edgewater, that's the town I'm trying to think of. It's near Daytona Beach, I think. Okay, Nelson and Alice in Florida. Shannon Reed in Arkansas, Arizona. My brother Brandon and his wife Mina, and their daughter Andrea, who's a nurse there. Take care of yourself, please, please, please. And her husband Tim and the 3 little terrorists. I hope you all are avoiding Mr. COVID. The Sonora Gang, Bob and Sandy Fisher, Martha and Brad Fisher. Martha, take care of yourself. Wear your PPE. She's a nurse, by the way. Darrell Larson, Judy May, Leonidas Maciel, Kathy Francis, and down in Mexico City, Rosie Lopez Negrete, ex Sonora Grammar School. Locally, Stan and Kathy in Pacifica, Rich and Kathy in Sebastopol, Tom and Nancy Throw in Petaluma, Tim Conrad in Petaluma, ex Sonora. He's a photographer extraordinaire. Kevin and Lori Burke up in Katati, Dave and Rosita Takich in Sacramento, and Mickey Huff in Sacramento, who commutes down to Diablo Valley College, where he is a professor of history and communications. Now, he's also the godfather of Project Censored, and I want to mention that Project Censored has a new book out. It's called State of the Free Press 2022, and it's by Mickey Huff and Andy Lee Roth. And you can order it or pre-order it. It should be in bookstores now, and it should be, I guess, Amazon if you like to buy your stuff from them. But projectcensor.com, that's their website. And and I forgot Nariman. Here locally in Petaluma. Nariman, it's been too long. We're going to have to go out and get a glass of red wine at the Theater Square wine bar that's owned by one of your friends. Okay, I need a drink to lubricate my throat. Okay, first item. Rest in peace, Betty White. And I really liked her, although I never watched regularly or at all, really, any of the sitcoms on TV that she was on. But let's see, when did I first become aware of Betty White and her unique brand of humor? It was a game show. I think. No, not Price is Right. Anyway, I forget the name of the game show, but Alan Ludden was the game show host, and he and Betty White got married, and he died long before she did, I think. I don't know the exact date, but in the 1970s, I believe, or late 60s, that Alan Ludden passed away. Anyway, there's a thing I want to relate to you that Betty White did way back in the 50s, black and white TV and all of that kind of stuff. In 1954, Betty White was criticized after having a black tap dancer on her variety TV show on CBS in 1954. His name was Arthur Duncan. And at the time he appeared on her show, he was young. I mean, maybe in his early 20s, but he was a fantastic tap dancer. And I never saw him. But he went on to have a dance career, a long time dance career, and he was very good. And she gave him his start. And okay, well, having a black person on a TV show back in those days here in the US of A was a no-no down south. Okay, now here's a quote from Betty White. All through the South, there was this whole ruckus. She later said, okay, in an interview relatively recently, 10, 15 years ago, they threatened, who is they? Well, the network executives who were worried about the viewer reaction down south. Okay, she later said, they threatened to take her show off the air. Betty responded by saying, I'm sorry, but he stays. Live with it. Okay, that's perfect Betty White comeback. And gave Arthur Duncan, the tap dancer, black tap dancer, even more airtime on her variety show. And her show didn't last very much longer after that. She was on for about a year and a half. Okay. Thank you for standing up, Betty White. Okay. All right. Now, on my Facebook page, when I guess advertise what I'm going to be talking about on the next show, and I'm going to do that more often now. I put a image of, my Midnight Skeptic persona at the top, and then a little explanation of what I'm going to be talking about. That picture was taken inside the KPCA radio studios, by the way, where this Midnight Skeptic started out. And this is before YouTube. I have my blue and black loud Hawaiian official Midnight Skeptic shirt, and I have their headphones. These are not as good as the ones that they had down at the studio. And I'm pointing my face toward one of their official microphones, and then a couple of other microphones in the back, and the control board that I never did quite figure out. Anyway, the last missive on my Facebook page was that I was going to talk about why all these angry, fearful, horrible people gravitate toward being Republican politicians. Well, and then I said at the bottom, I was going to attempt to answer that profound question on the next show. Well, this is the next show. Today is actually Friday the 7th of January of the new year, 2022. This is going to be broadcast on KPCA LP 103.3 FM on Sunday the 9th at 9 p.m., the usual time. I'm going to try to get all this up on YouTube like an hour from now. This is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, it just dawned on me, I forgot to mention that Mickey Huff, on his Project Censored radio show, which is on KPCA Wednesdays from 1 to 2, is repeated again on KPFA over in Berkeley, 94.1 from 1 to 2. Okay, well, he's probably just getting over with the show right about now, but I would encourage all my listeners to listen into Mickey Huff's show. He has some interesting guests and talks about news items that go unreported, wrongly reported, on and on and on. Okay. This whole show won't be one long anti-Republican rant, as much as you think that's all I do on here. But I do want to answer the question that I posed on my Facebook page announcing the topic of this show. Well, I've already gone into that. Why is it that Republicans, especially Republican politicians, are such horrible people? Okay, first thing I'm going to do is just list briefly a list of Republican politicians and what they're noted for, I guess. Okay, first off, Stephen Miller, that vomit-inducing advisor to the Trump administration. I'm sorry, I'm not going to mention the T word anymore. I slipped up in my notes here. It's the T word. The orange sociopathic bloat bag is who I'm going to refer to him as from now on. Okay. Anyway, Stephen Miller now is 36. He's relatively young, and the Southern Poverty Law Center credits him with formulating the racist and draconian immigration policies of the administration of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. And he came up with the idea to take their children or remove their children from them and put the children in, cages. And there's a lot of objections from the right. Well, they weren't in cages. We were protecting them. We were keeping them safe. We were blah, 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 blah. But they were cages. And the reason for that is, well, maybe families migrating northward from Central America and some from Mexico they'll stop coming if they know we're going to take their children. That's essentially the reasoning behind that. Okay, enough about that creep. Okay, next creep up, Jim Jordan, a Republican congressman from Ohio. I'm sure that you all know who I'm talking about, the guy that always on the floor of the House of Representatives just wears a shirt and tie, and never a jacket, or very rarely a jacket. Not that that's all that important, but it just gives you a hint as to the seriousness with which he takes his job of being a congressman from Ohio. Another sip. I'm having a dry throat. It's not COVID. I'm completely boosted, and I haven't had a test, but I don't have any symptoms, and I've got my 2 shots, Moderna from Kaiser. Kaiser's just down the street, about 6 blocks from where I live, and I wandered down there when I became eligible to get boosted, and I was going to make an appointment to come in and get boosted. I stuck my head in the office door where they were doing this, and the nurse said, "Hey, come on in. We're slow today. Let's get you a boost right now." So okay, so I did it. Okay, Moderna, I'm hearing, is the most effective of all the vaccines for against COVID. Okay, Jim Jordan. I got off on another topic. Jim Jordan tweets misinformation, of course, about COVID vaccinations and mask wearing. He says they don't work. We got to protect our freedom to wear masks or not. Okay. And, the thing that he should be known for more than he is his refusal to take seriously the complaints of a number of Ohio State's wrestlers about this creepy doctor that I guess he was a gay predator, but there were 6 wrestlers who have testified that Jim Jordan knew about these sexual abuse from this doctor. Specifically, Tito Velasquez, one of 6 Ohio State University wrestlers, told CNN, the news station, in an interview, that Jordan dismissed their complaints about, this is the doctor, Dr. Richard Strauss, Strauss, and they didn't go into details about what he did. I don't think that there was actual, I don't know how to put this, penetrative sex of any kind. I don't think so. I don't know this for sure, but, these guys were wrestlers, and if the doctor tried to force himself upon them, well, Jesus, he's taking his life in his hands. So I don't think that happened. But what happened was inappropriate genitalia examinations by this doctor, who claimed that for whatever reason he needed to do this. Okay. And Jim Jordan, why is he even in the picture here? He was the assistant wrestling coach before he decided to go into right-wing hate politics as a Republican. Okay. Anyway, that's his Jim Jordan's claim to fame. Okay, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not going to waste any of my airtime talking about those male and female creeps. Um, and let's see, they're just symbols of what the Republican Party has spiraled down the political sewage drain to become. Um, okay. The Republicans are not a party. I'm riffing now. I'm riffing. They're not a political party anymore. They're a cult. They're the cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. And fealty, in other words, ass kissing, is a prerequisite of being considered a good Republican nowadays. It's, I don't know. So we've got one political party that's interested in governance. That's the Democrats. And we've got another group of politicians that are in this cult who are only interested in gaining power, political power. Okay, so we only have one. So when Democrats say we want to have a bipartisan, I hate that word. Bipartisan to me means there'll just be Republicans involved in this, which is, it used to be a good thing back, even in the Bush years. It was, Republicans and Democrats could work together in Congress, and Senate and House Representatives to get bills passed that did some good for this country. Not everything, but some good things. Anyway, anytime I hear a politician using bipartisan anymore, I just kind of write them off as just has their head in the sand. Okay, Paul Gosar, Republican congressman from Arizona. I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about this creep who isn't even supported by his own family. They all denounce him, and I've seen his sister on being interviewed by MSNBC hosts, and they all think he's a creepy jerk and who is not very bright and probably has some mental issues. Who am I to say that? But that's what his family says. So at some point, you just got to take their word for it. He's nuts. He's a firm member of the cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. He opposes the ACA, better known in some circles as Obamacare. He's anti-abortion. He's He's not pro-gun control. He's anti-gun control of any kind, including just background checks. He's anti-immigration. Keep those brown people south of the border where they belong. Okay. He has a 3% rating by the League of Conservation Voters. How'd he even get that much? Okay. He has 0% from the American Humane Society. He was very much in favor of Trump's build the wall efforts. And here's a quote from him that particularly galls me. He referred to Native Americans as, and I'm quoting him, wards of the federal government. Oh, God, what a creep. Okay, enough of him. Madison Cawthorn. He is a Republican. They're all Republicans. A Republican congressman from North Carolina's 11th district. And he's only 26. He was, I think, he was the youngest congressman elected ever, I think. He's certainly the youngest in there now. Okay. And currently, he's going through a divorce from his wife, Christina, who's a CrossFit trainer. There's pictures of her. She seems to be in good shape, and she's attractive. But they've only been married for 8 months. Wow. Did it take her that long to determine that he was this creep that she maybe misread? I don't know. I don't know the details of their wedded bliss for a while. Okay. This is, okay. In July of 2020, the orange sociopathic bloat bags administration was going full blast. He said, without any evidence, they never have any evidence. Okay, quote, a large group of cartels, and they're talking about the southern border with Mexico now. A large group of cartels at the border are kidnapping our American children to sell them at a sex slave market. I'm not making this up. This is what he said. And, okay, that, as stupid as that is, okay, several women, I guess this is before his marriage, have come forward to accuse him of groping and unwanted attention and sexual innuendos and so on and on and on and on. I don't know if they've actually brought charges against him, but they've come forward and talked about this Republican creep. And he is he definitely has white nationalist sympathies. Okay, enough of Cawthorn. Okay, Texas Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. All right. March 23rd, 2020, on the Tucker Carlson show. He's a creep, all in his own right, and I'm not going to waste time talking about him, but Fox News is that could be a whole show into itself. Okay. This is something he said. He's being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. And this is at the, not at the height of the COVID breakout, but it was going strong at that point. And we were in this country having debates about mask wearing. And there were no vaccinations at this time. Mask wearing and possibly shutting down businesses in this country. Okay, and this is what Dan Patrick said. Patriotic grandparents, in meaning old people, he didn't say that, I'm inserting that. Patriotic grandparents should be willing to die for capitalism. In other words, no shutdown of our businesses. And another quote, and Tucker, no one reached out to me and said, as a senior citizen, are you willing to... Oh, God, my handwriting. Are you willing to take a chance on your survival in exchange for keeping the America that we all love for your children and grandchildren? And if that's the exchange, I'm all in. Okay, that's what he said. Okay. In other words, he wants to save capitalism, save businesses. And as do I. I don't want to see businesses go out of business. And this business about saving capitalism, well, I will go into this in greater depth on some show later on. I am not sure that capitalism, as it is practiced in this country, is worth saving. Okay. Republicans will be PO'd at me. I don't care. Another sip of coffee. Okay. There's another Dan Patrick quote on the Tucker Carlson show. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to living. Let's be smart about it. Those of us that are 70 plus, well, I guess he was. He didn't look that old to me. I'm 70 plus. We'll take care of ourselves. And I hope by that he means getting vaccinated, although vaccines were not available at that time. Okay. But don't sacrifice the country. Okay. Enough Dan Patrick. Okay. I'm having to go back a little ways in Republican history to the Reagan years. Lee Atwater. He was the chairman of the Republican National Committee, and he was nicknamed the Boogeyman by those Democrats who were the recipients of his dirty tricks. He came up with take no prisoners, dirty tricks to get Republicans elected in office, and specifically Ronald Reagan. He is one of the ones that trolled evangelical Christian churches and pastors to get those worshipers out of the pews and into the voting booths. That's what we want. Those Democrats are all, for abortion. They're for giving help to lazy, shiftless brown and black people and who don't deserve welfare. Okay, that was Lee Atwater. Okay, and he's the one that came up with the Southern strategy. It wasn't that many years before the Reagan administration that the Voting Rights Act in 1964, signed by LBJ, caused Dixiecrats, who were in control of the Southern governments at that time, to suddenly switch over to the Republican Party. Remember Strom Thurmond, that guy? He's the one that led the charge of Southern Dixiecrats to join the Republican Party. Okay, that was his thing. And then the Southern strategy has been part of the Republican playbook ever since. Okay. All right. Enough of him. Newt Gingrich is Republican congressperson from Georgia. And he appears a lot lately on Fox News. He's not aging well. Okay, I won't go into that. Anyway, he was from 1995 to 1999. I guess that represents 2 terms in the House of Representatives. And few figures in America have done more than Gingrich to lay the groundwork for the orange sociopathic bloat bag's rise. During his 2 decades in Congress, 2 decades in Congress. Well, that's 20 years. I guess 95 to 99, he was Speaker of the House at that time. Okay. He pioneered a style of partisan combat. He learned from Lee Atwater, which partisan combat, which consisted of name calling, conspiracy theories, and obstructionism. Now, who is, oh God, I'm having a brain freeze. Mitch McConnell learned obstructionism at the knees of Newt Gingrich. if you obstruct all good things that are trying to work its way through the Senate and the House of Representatives to work its way to the president's desk, which would be something that would be good for people, obstruct it. Don't let it get passed. And if nothing gets passed or nothing gets done, come election time, you can always just blame the Democrats. Okay, that was Newt Gingrich. And then Mitch McConnell has, like right now, carrying on that strategy. Okay. All of Newt Gingrich poisoned America's political culture and plunged Washington into permanent dysfunction. He's been divorced 2 times. Right now, he's married to Callista, and she was appointed by the orange sociopathic bloat bag to be the ambassador to the Vatican. Okay. Now, his first wife, I'm talking about Gingrich, his first wife was dying of cancer while he was dallying with wife number 2. Okay. Eventually, he divorced wife number 2 and then married Callista in the year 2000. Okay. Okay. Some good news. All right. It's good news from my point of view. Maybe some of my listeners out there, it wouldn't be good news. Anyway, here it is. The move to secularism is generational. The young, I'm talking about this country, the young are not buying what the church is selling. Generally, in 1980, 89% of Americans identified as Christians. By 2020, that number is 68%, which is a 21% drop. Okay, now, evidence of morals changing, not morals, but social changing. Okay, the support for gay marriage was 27% in 1996. That, to me, that's not all that long ago. Anyway, gay marriage, 27% in 1996. When the Gallup poll first asked that question of its polling people, are you in favor of allowing gay marriage? Oh, okay. In 1996, 27%. Okay. It has now reached, like this year, has reached 70%. It's essentially no longer an issue in people's minds. In other words, the evangelical right-wing hate churches have kind of given up on fighting against that. They've moved on to transgender issues, which I'm going to talk a few things about here on this show. Real quick time check. Okay, got plenty of time. Another sip of coffee. Okay, the question that I posed on my Facebook page about this show was, what makes the GOP, the MAGA heads, the Republicans, the orange sociopathic bloat bag cult so angry and mean, willing to just be mean and horrible people? Well, here's my reason for that. Let's see, what am I? Excuse me. I'm hypothesizing about the reason for that. Conservatives, MAGA heads, orange sociopathic bloat bag cultists are motivated by fear, which in turn morphs into anger. All right, well, what are they afraid of? They fear change. And You know, I read a little bit about studies about this very thing. Uh, Fear makes people conservative, unfortunately. Okay, well, what things do they fear the change of? Well, here's a list of things. Okay, the climate is changing, whether they want to believe it or not. It is. And that's the overarching thing that we should all be concerned about in the long term. And you don't need to fear it, you just need to do something about it. Okay? Um, Sex roles are changing, and they're becoming kind of ambiguous now, which there's nothing wrong with that. I certainly prefer the way that sex and gender roles are becoming. I think it's a liberating thing. Uh, Back in the 50s and 60s, my growing up days, to the extent that I've grown up at all, okay, women basically were housewives, and the rearing the children, that was their job. The man went off to work, earned a living, brought a paycheck back, provided, and the major decisions were made by the husband. That was the roles back in those days. And it's a role that is encouraged nowadays, even though they're behind the times. They're encouraged by right-wing evangelical Christians, specifically the Southern Baptists. There's other denominations. I just don't want to get into which ones do and which ones don't. But by and large, conservative right-wing evangelical Christians encourage this. They call it complementarianism. Husband and wife come together in holy matrimony in God's image. In other words, the only acceptable way for either sex or gender to have sex is to be within holy matrimony. Okay. Thank goodness that is changing. Okay. What else is changing? Okay. Careers are changing. It used to be that farmers out in the Midwest, well, here in California too, we're a bigger agricultural state than most states. Okay, went out into the field at sunrise, planted the crops or milked the cows or whatever, and came back at sunset to the happy family, the dinner that the wife has cooked, and blah blah blah. Okay, and or the husband went off to the factory or the plant where things were manufactured, and he worked up a sweat on the auto on the car. Okay, I'm having a brain freeze again on this word line where cars go along and you put parts on them. Production line. Okay. Anyway, that was work. Okay. Nowadays, with the high-tech revolution, careers are changing, and there's a bigger emphasis on technical, scientific education, and a lot of the conservative MAGA heads can't deal with that, and they want workers to be working in the same jobs as they used to. Okay. Careers are changing, blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of going off my notes here. Okay. The chances of getting ahead in life are changing. The wealth gap is just, well, it's unbridgeable now. The upper 1%, the mega billionaires that shoot themselves off into space on their rocket toys, nobody's ever going to convince them to pay their fair share of taxes. Okay, now I don't hate, I don't even dislike a lot of the millionaires, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They are really nice guys, I think, and they've contributed a lot to charitable institutions and efforts to make life on Earth better. But there are some that just are squandering their money. But in any event, the upper, say, 10% are the gap between them and the lower 30 to 40% of American population is just, it's an unbridgeable gap now, barring any sort of rejiggering of the tax rates here. Okay. The demographics are changing, and especially Republicans are fearful of that change. Okay. There are more immigrants coming in from everywhere. Okay. Entertainment is changing. It used to be you'd go to the movies at your local cinema, or you got to watch one of the three major networks, NBC, ABC, CBS, and then NPR, or yeah, I guess NPR would be the fourth semi-network. But anyway, now there's, you can, with streaming and all of that, entertainment is changing, and the older people are not quite up on how to tap into this. Okay, I'm getting behind on my time here. Okay, and religion is changing. It's disappearing. I just related to you some statistics about how religion is changing. Religion is, churchgoers are just older people now, and they fear changes. It's going away. Okay. Now, real quick, I want to get a little bit into book banning, and which goes along with some of these changes that Republicans and MAGA heads and the orange sociopathic bloat bag cult fear changes. Okay. Loudoun County, Virginia. You might have heard about this. There was a sex assault in a high school, and it was the MAGA heads, especially the conservative evangelicals, have seized upon this to rail against a pending bathroom bill in Virginia to prohibit transgender from using a bathroom of their preferred gender. Okay, and this 15-year-old guy assaulted this young girl. She was either 14 or 15, in a high school in Loudoun County, Virginia. And he was arrested for that and then released and moved to another high school. Well, he assaulted another girl in the girls' bathroom, and as I delved more and more into this story, the girl knew him, and they had arranged to meet in the girls' bathroom. This young kid, the guy, happened to be wearing a skirt. Well, of course, right-wing religious groups seized upon that as a way to rail against bathroom bills and rail against the very idea of transgenderism in general. But there's more to this story. The boy's mother, when she was interviewed, has said that he doesn't really identify as a girl. He's just occasionally likes to wear clothes of the opposite sex, or the kid himself says that he is gender fluid. I think that this kid, in addition to having sexual troubles in general, is using that term, gender fluid, to justify his... I know this is going to happen occasionally. Sexual predators can be dealt with just like sexual predators are in life in general. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to discriminate against transgender kids just because of one or two incidents like this. Okay, enough of that. Okay, getting back to book burning, time check. Okay. Fairfax County, Virginia. Boy, they have problems back there. This mother, Laura Murphy, a woman whose son had been assigned to read the book Beloved in his AP English class. He's a senior, was a senior. He complained to his mommy that it was disgusting and gross. The Virginia Beloved Bill, okay, that's an informal description of it, that passed in Virginia, would allow parents to object to any book that their kids were assigned in this particular Fairfax County school district. And parents would have the right to block books with sexually explicit material. Well, that became an issue in the Virginia gubernatorial election. Greg Youngkin won by 2 or 3 percentage points of the votes against Terry McAuliffe, who said very mistakenly that parents should not have the right to tell what their children are taught. Well, I am kind of in agreement with that. However, he very inartfully stated that belief, and there was a big parental backlash about it. And as a result, Terry McAuliffe lost, and Greg Youngkin, the Republican who harped on that issue, won the governorship of Virginia. And, well, here we are. Okay, speaking of book banning, well, banning, who cares? Okay, we have a local celebrity whose book was banned, and not just in Fairfax County, but in a number of more conservative places around the country. Her name is Maya Kobabe, Kobabe. Well, she's 31 now, and was raised, I don't know whether she's born around here, but she was raised around here, and she went to Petaluma High School, and she got her fine arts degree from Dominican College, that's down in San Rafael, and then She got a MFA, Master of Fine Arts. Oh, God. Where? Oh, anyway, I forgot to underline that. Okay, but anyway, an arts academy of some sort in San Francisco, I believe. Maybe it's in Oakland, but I'm not sure. Anyway, she's got her fine arts, and her book is Gender Queer, a memoir. And I have not read this yet. I'm going to go out and get it. But for the benefit of the YouTube people, I'm just going to hold up a newspaper article about her. Anyway, like I say, she's 31 now. This is a graphic novel. In other words, she's the cartoonist and graphic artist and author of this book. And it's a memoir. It's about how she grew up differently than, the typical kid. She describes herself as asexual, and she came out to her mom at the age of 25 as gender non-conforming. What time? Okay, real quick. School board in Fairfax County, Virginia decided the 2019, that's when this book came out, autobiography about Kobabe's journey to identifying as non-binary and asexual. They decided that it was pornography. Oh, God. All right. Graphic novel. Bringing the total number of states banning Kobabe's book to 10. 10 states that banned this book. Wow. Okay. Much of this journey unfolds in the book itself, which chronicles Kobabe's evolution from adolescence to adulthood, and she's 31 now, and unpacks the hardships of coming out, the ups and downs of adolescent crushes, and the flat-out trauma of being non-binary in a society that largely sees gender as limited to the two categories of man and woman. Okay, I'm kind of out of time. I got to play my play out music because it's 58 minutes, and that's when KPCA cuts me off. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, that does it. KPCA LP 103.3 FM has cut me off, and so they can get in their own announcements. I'm still staring out at the YouTube people here, but I've got to go.